I've always thought my house was different. You know that weird feeling you get when something is off but you can't quite put your finger on it? Yeah, that's what it's been like since I moved in. I bought the house a few months ago. It was an old, creaky place, but I got it for cheap. Seemed like a great deal at the time. The previous owners moved out fast, barely leaving a trace. That should have been my first red flag, but I didn't think much of it. I was just excited to have a place of my own. At first, everything seemed normal. Sure, the floors creaked at night, and sometimes I'd hear the occasional rustle, but it's an old house, right? I just chalked it up to the place settling. But then, about a month in, I started noticing odd things. At night, when the house was silent, I'd hear scratching. At first, I thought it was mice or rats, which again, isn't uncommon in old houses. But the sounds weren't coming from the floor or the corners. They were coming from the walls. Not just random little scratches either. It was like someone, was dragging their nails along the inside of the walls, slowly and deliberately. One night I decided to follow the sound. I put my ear against the wall in my bedroom, and there it was again, scratching. But this time, it wasn't just scratching. I swear I heard breathing. Not heavy breathing, but like shallow gasps, as if something was trying not to be heard. I jumped back, my heart pounding in my chest. I told myself I was just tired, imagining things, but it kept happening. Every night the same thing. Scratching, then breathing. I could barely sleep. I even tried turning on the TV or playing music to drown it out, but it was always there. No matter what I did, I could hear it, feel it. Things escalated when I started finding objects out of place. At first, it was small stuff, like a book moved from my desk or my keys in the wrong spot. I live alone, so there was no one else who could have done it. One morning, I woke up and found all the pictures on my walls tilted to the side, every single one. I had no explanation. One night, the scratching stopped. I remember thinking, thank God it's over. But I was wrong. It was far from over. That night, I woke up to a loud thud from inside the walls, right next to my bed. I froze, barely breathing. Another thud. It was like something was slamming against the wall, trying to get out. Then the whispering started. At first, I couldn't understand what it was saying. It was faint, like someone speaking from far away. But slowly, the words became clearer.
Let me out.
My blood ran cold. I grabbed my phone and called the police, trying to explain that there was someone, or something, in my walls. They came, of course, but found nothing. No signs of entry, no holes, no hidden doors or panels. They must have thought I was crazy. That's when I decided to tear into the walls myself. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what was making that noise. I grabbed a hammer and started smashing a hole in the drywall. The sound was deafening, but I didn't care. I had to see. As I tore open the wall, something fell out. It wasn't what I expected. It was an old yellowed photo, a family photo. The people in it looked familiar. I realized with a jolt that it was the previous owners of the house. There was a woman, a man, and their child. But the weird part? The child's face had been scratched out of the picture, like someone had violently tried to erase them from existence. That night, I heard it again. The scratching, the thuds, the whispering. But now it was louder, angrier. Let me out! I haven't slept in days. The noise is constant now, always there, even during the day. I tried moving out, but every time I pack my things, I find them unpacked the next morning. It's like the house won't let me leave. Last night, I woke up to find a message scratched into the wall next to my bed. I'm here. That's when I heard it. The slow, deliberate creak of my bedroom door opening behind me. My heart stopped, and I didn't dare move. I didn't want to look. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. I felt something, someone, standing right behind me, breathing, watching. And then, in a voice that sounded like it was coming from both inside the wall and right next to my ear, it whispered, "I told you I'd come."
I never believed in ghost stories. I mean, who does? It's always just some rumor or something to scare the kids. But after what happened to me at the old train station, I don't know what to believe anymore. It all started when I was visiting my hometown after years of being away. It's a small place. Nothing much happens there. But I needed a break from city life. One night, my friends and I decided to go exploring. You know, for old time's sake. We ended up at the abandoned train station on the edge of town. The station had been closed for decades, ever since the last train passed through in the early 90s. It was a creepy place, all run down and covered in graffiti. The windows were broken, and the whole building seemed like it was sagging under the weight of time. But something about it drew us in. We'd all heard stories about the place, rumors of strange noises and people seeing shadows moving inside. Of course, we didn't really take it seriously. We went there around midnight. It was cold, and the air felt heavy, like it was pushing down on us. The old train tracks were rusty, disappearing into the darkness. The station itself loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the night sky. We laughed it off, joking about ghosts and making fun of each other for being scared. We decided to go inside. The doors creaked open, and a cold breeze hit us. The station was even worse on the inside. Dust everywhere, old benches tipped over, and a ticket booth that looked like no one had touched it in years. But the thing that really freaked me out was the silence. It was so quiet that it felt wrong, like the air itself was holding its breath. We split up to look around, though I didn't go far from the others. As I walked through the main waiting area, something caught my eye, a flicker of movement, like a shadow darting across the wall. I froze, my heart racing, but when I looked again, there was nothing there. I told myself I was just imagining things. Maybe it was the wind or the shadows playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I had this overwhelming feeling that I wasn't alone. Then I heard it, a faint whistle, like a train in the distance. It was so quiet, I thought I might have imagined it, but then it came again, louder this time. The sound echoed through the empty station. I looked around at my friends, and they were staring at each other, confused. We all heard it. The strange thing was, there hadn't been a train on those tracks in years. Suddenly, the old clock on the wall started ticking. I swear it hadn't worked when we walked in, but now it was ticking loudly, like a heartbeat, the hands slowly moving backward. One of my friends, Steve, laughed it off, saying it was just some old machinery kicking in. He walked over to the ticket booth and tapped the glass, trying to be funny. That's when we heard it, a voice, faint but clear, coming from behind the booth.
Tickets, please.
We all froze. There was no one there. The booth was empty, just a dusty counter and broken glass. But the voice came again, louder this time.
Tickets, please.
Steve stepped back, his face pale. "Let's get out of here," he whispered. Before we could move, the sound of footsteps echoed through the station. Slow, deliberate steps, like someone was walking toward us from the dark, but we couldn't see anyone. The footsteps got closer and closer until they were right in front of us. Then the lights flickered, and for a split second, we saw it. A figure standing at the end of the platform. It was tall, wearing what looked like an old conductor's uniform, but its face was just a shadow. There were no eyes, no mouth, just darkness. The whistle blew again, louder this time, and the figure started moving toward us. We bolted. I don't think I've ever run that fast in my life. We didn't stop until we were out of the station and back on the road. We never went back to that station again, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear the faint whistle of a train that hasn't run in years. And I swear, if you listen closely, you can still hear the voice asking, "Tickets, please."